You became a doula, a childbirth educator, and a lactation consultant before you had your first kid. I'm so curious about what drew you into this world before you knew personally just how needed these roles were.
I was nervous. Are you allowed to be a lactation consultant if you've never had a child? And you are, you're allowed. I loved impacting individual birth journeys. But the systemic problems. Let's get paid parental leave so that people can actually have time to bond and learn their new role as parent. We prevent it every way we can by forcing parents to go back to work so soon after delivery.
What's the average amount of time a family is in for?
Insurance covers 2 nights after the delivery of your baby. Your first night starts 5 minutes after your baby's born. You could be there for 36 hours. I teach a baby bootcamp class. Couples come and learn everything there is to know about childbirth, newborn, breastfeeding.
The Doula Show, the Doula Show, the Doula Show, the Doula Show.
Erica Hopper is a registered nurse at Jefferson Einstein Hospital, a part-time nursing instructor at Gwynedd Mercy University, and has her Master's of Nursing Education. She's trained as a doula and a childbirth educator. Along the way, she also became a board-certified lactation consultant. On top of all of that, Erica is a mom of 3. She recently launched a line of products on Etsy, a breastfeeding journal, and NICU pumping diary that blend clinical expertise with emotional support. The kinds of resources she says she wishes she'd had herself when starting out. Today's guest is my dear friend since high school, though we haven't actually seen each other in nearly a decade as we have been on different continents, and I'm so excited to learn about her day-to-day and get inside her to-do list. Welcome, Erica!
Thank you!
With all of the many amazing things that you do in your life, how do you generally answer the question, what do you do?
I usually, to simplify, I say that I'm a nurse, postpartum nurse. If people ask any additional follow-up questions, then I say that I also do lactation consulting. That sometimes bring up people's birth stories because people love to tell their birth story. So if I say that I'm a postpartum nurse and I do lactation, I'm generally going to hear a birth story and a breastfeeding journey.
Is that a conversation you enjoy getting into, or are you like, oh God, not again?
I do. Most of the time I do. Most of the time it's a way to connect with somebody, and I like connection. So most of the time I'm happy to connect in that way, unless I'm rushing, and then I'm a nurse.
Nice. Yeah. I think anybody with a multi-hyphenate, like not a straightforward job, has their version where it's like, I want to get into a conversation and like, let's end this quickly.
Yep.
So you became a doula, a childbirth educator, and a lactation consultant before you had your first kid. I'm so curious about what drew you into this world before you knew personally just how needed these roles were.
That's a good point, because I was nervous when I decided I wanted to do lactation. Are you allowed to be a lactation consultant if you've never had a child, if you have no personal experience? And you're allowed. There are lactation consultants that have never had kids, and that doesn't mean that they can't help. Definitely, I would say my experience becoming a mother did deepen my understanding of lactation and make my knowledge a little richer. And when it has that personal bent, then I think it does help a little bit with some of the clinical skills. My breastfeeding journey is mine. I don't bring a lot of my own personal experiences when I'm working with a client because their breastfeeding journey is going to be very different, and I don't want them to compare breastfeeding journeys as much as possible. Although it helps with my skills, I don't necessarily talk about it a lot with clients.
How did you even know that this was a specialty to go into, and let alone have the curiosity to do so?
Well, I was living in Seattle at the time, trying to figure out what I wanted to do after I got my first degree in political science and religious studies. And I don't want to go to law school. What do I want to do? I became a doula out in the Pacific Northwest and was, wow, I love birth work and I love supporting women and parents on their journey. Honestly, it became something where I just kept wanting to take a step back to impact things greater. I loved impacting individual birth journeys, but then I was like, but the systemic problems, let me go back further so that I can have a bigger impact on individual families. So I just kept myself from individual families because I wanted to have a greater impact. That's why I ended up getting my nursing degree, my master's in nursing education, so that I can teach nurses that are coming up so that they can have an impact on the families that they see, so that I can just deepen that impact. The next is systemic change. I want to do advocacy and policy change because I really want to have a wider impact for families.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're so cool and inspiring.
Well, I want to be. I would not say that yet. I want to inspire change, but it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're taking on how the medical industry deals with families and women is like one of the most unaddressed problems in modern society.
Yeah. Maternal health is just something I care so deeply about. It's just hard. It's hard to change it. Paid parental leave. Let's start there, right? Let's get paid parental leave so that people can actually have time to bond and learn their new role as parents and learn to breastfeed and continue to breastfeed, which we know is good for long-term health, but we prevent it every way we can by forcing parents to go back to work so soon after delivery. And formula companies have just unchecked ability to advertise to vulnerable population.
It's so different here in England. I'm at my in-laws' house right now, and my sister-in-law has a 9-month-old.
Oh,
This month is her fully paid leave ending, and then she gets to
incredible.
take another 3 months unpaid. So a full year.
I love
And
that for her.
yeah,
I
and this
love
is her
that for
second kid.
her.
She does that. It's so normal. Like every woman in England has access to it. Like I think a minimum of 9 months. Like everybody takes it and expects it.
I love that. I'm jealous, but I love that is the culture in most other developed countries.
I want to get into the details of your to-do list, but knowing that you are a nurse and that you do teaching, how is that time typically divided?
When it comes to making my schedule, I usually make it about 6 to 8 weeks out. That's what my work does. So I have to balance my time between working as a nurse, a couple shifts a week, working in lactation, which is at the same job. I fill in where I can with the lactation. Then for Gwynedd, I pick up semesters. And so that's kind of easy to fit in because I'll have my dates 6 months ahead of time and I can make sure that I have the time off of work. Although I take my Gwynedd students to my job, I'm still in the same place, just working in a different
That's
role.
cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually really like it. And I think it's funny because I do wear different colored scrubs depending on what role I am in it. But
Love that.
yeah, but the doctors will sometimes see me and they'll be like, "What are you here for today?" Because they're like, "Should I be asking you about lactation? Should I be asking you about a specific patient? Do you have students here?" So it is
And you're like,
funny.
I'm color coded, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
So yes, come on. I'm in Navy today. I've got students. So there's that I balance, and then I balance that around my husband's schedule. So John works at Trader Joe's, and so he basically works on days that I'm not working, or there's some days where we're both working. And then complicating it further, once a month I teach a baby boot camp class. It's
I saw the boot camp on the to-do list, but there
yeah,
was no context, so I'm
it's
excited to get into that.
it's the full weekend. So it's from 10 to 4 on Saturday, Sunday. I just had one this weekend. And between 8 and 10 couples come and learn everything there is to know about childbirth, newborn,
So this is
breastfeeding.
pregnant couples,
Mhm.
generally?
Yep, so
Mm.
prenatal, yeah. They're usually between 28 and 36 weeks pregnant, although they can be whatever. They're usually around there. And yeah, so it's a lot. For most people, it's the most they've sat and listened to somebody talk in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's it's a long class, and it's a lot of information, but I find it really fun and challenging and
That's
yeah.
amazing. That should be like mandatory.
Ah,
That's
I know, I
incredible that you
know.
offer that.
Well, that's where things come in where it is cost prohibitive, and I wish that it wasn't, right? So it costs $200 to take this class. It's a great class. I think it's really worth it, but I wish that it was covered by insurance companies, or I wish that
Yeah.
we can do a sliding scale for our families that can't afford that because everybody deserves to have that education.
Is that also through the hospital or is that like a
Yeah,
private
yeah.
thing?
No, that's through the
Yeah.
hospital. It's at a different site. I teach in a different environment, not at the hospital, but it's through the hospital system. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So at your nursing job, you say you start each shift by creating a patient to-do list.
Yep.
Can you walk us through what that looks like and why it's so central to your workflow?
Sure, yeah. I think most nurses will probably agree that having a plan of care is paramount. When I get there, I get my patient load. Okay, I've got usually 3 to 4 rooms, and I start by breaking down my day into our care times. Most nurses will have care times where they're expected to do certain tasks or jobs. I break down into my 8 o'clock, my 12 o'clock, my 4 o'clock, 4 p.m., and kind of put what I'm supposed to be charting during those times. And then when I get report on the patient, I'll have the nurse tell me when they last medicated them and when their next medications are due. And I'll filter that in throughout my day plan, the different medications. And then for babies, we expect them to eat every couple hours. I'm also going to add in maybe when the next time that they should be eating or around their next feed time. And I try to make it so that I'm clustering my care because I don't want to be in a room every hour, not only because it's not good for my workflow, but it's not good for the patients. They need time to sleep, to rest, to spend time with family that are coming to visit them. I try to cluster all my care. If I've got medications that are due at 11:30, I'm going to maybe bring those forward to 11 o'clock if I already have to go in at 11 o'clock, or push them back to 12 o'clock. Try to cluster it that way. So I do that in the beginning of the day so that I have a good plan to move forward with. I'm always able to modify that when I go into the room and I talk to the patient. And the first thing that I do when I get into a room is talk about the plan of care. These are the things that we need to get done today. These are the times that I'm thinking. Do you have family visiting? What is your plan for the day? And then we can match and change times around if we need to. So it's always
Love that
flexible.
clear communication, bedside manner. That's awesome.
Well, I think that is a lot of times what nurses are doing in the rooms when they first go in, is developing a plan of care for the day. Even more important when we go into a room and we've got two patients. We've got the baby and the mom and the parent, making sure that we're giving the best care possible, giving the best education possible, while also respecting their new family, learning to be a new family, and resting. That's a big one. I always try to build in a nap for them in the afternoon. All right, when are we napping? Let's schedule that.
I love that. That's great. Even though patient names and needs changed, you said lists often look similar. What's the rhythm or pattern of a typical day in the NICU?
This is in postpartum. The NICU, I do sometimes work in, but this is mostly postpartum. These lists are. The typical would be in the morning, we do a full patient assessment. We're getting their vital signs. We're checking their bellies. So for postpartum patients, we need to make sure that they're not having too much bleeding. So we check their uterus to make sure that it feels nice and firm, and they're not having too much bleeding. We're going to be doing that all in the morning. We will continue that pattern every 4 hours if they're under 24 hours after delivery. But then after 24 hours, we change to every 8-hour schedule. So depending on whether they're 24 hours or 48 hours post-delivery, my schedule might change a little bit. And then there's the baby feeding. So we expect babies to wake up to eat every couple of hours, but if they're not waking for feeds, we need to make sure that we are waking them to make sure that they're getting what they need in those early days. So I usually am talking about when the next time we're going to wake the baby and try to get them latched, because I'm often in the rooms to help with the breastfeeds if the parents are breastfeeding. So we're kind of matching that time too. Other things that I would add is if the patient is a C-section or something like that, at 12 hours, we're going to take the Foley catheter out, get that patient up and moving. So that would be something I would add to my list. And then when babies turn 24 hours old, we do a lot of different screening tests. So I always make sure that I know when the baby is 24 hours so that I can make sure I'm doing all of the 24-hour care around the time that they turn 24 hours. But I can always shift it depending on when is appropriate during the day.
What's the average amount of time a family is in for?
Not long. So insurance covers 2 nights after the delivery of your baby. What that means is if you deliver your baby at 11:55 p.m., your first night starts 5 minutes after your baby's born. You could be there for 36 hours. If you deliver at 12:05, your first night doesn't start till the following evening. So that does feel a little bit better, but it's still less than 72 hours that you're leaving. For first-time parents, that's not a lot of time to learn everything they need to do to take care of a new human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Is it a situation where you can pay out of pocket to stay longer if you want
That's
to?
an interesting question. I have never come across that. And believe me, there are families who would want to, but I've never seen that happen. I don't really think that's something that we can do. I don't know for a fact. I've never asked, but
if you were advocating, what would your advocacy minimum be?
How long be in the hospital? I will say that a lot of families like getting out of the hospital that quick. I think they should be there longer for education purposes, but sometimes want to as soon as possible. People don't like to be in the hospital. For a lot of people, it is their first hospital experience. They've never been in the hospital before, so they're nervous about it. There is a lot of nurses coming in and out of the room. It's not your bed. We don't feed their partners, so that's a big thing, right? Partners have to fend for themselves. So a lot of times they don't like to be in the hospital that long. And the hospitalization of births happened 80 years ago, right? We used to deliver most babies at home. What would happen if we were delivering babies at home would be that there would be what they call health visitors that would, and I think in Europe they have this model a lot where they might only be in the hospital for 2 days, but then there's somebody coming to follow up with them on day 4, on day 6, to make sure that they are still feeling confident, they don't have any questions, they're latching, they're doing what they need to, checking on the baby, making sure the baby is okay. I guess if advocacy wise, I wouldn't necessarily change the amount of time of spent in the hospitals that they would cover in the hospital, but I would change the model so that we had better follow-up after they leave the hospital. Because
Yeah.
once they leave the hospital, that's it. We don't talk to
They're on
them or
their
hear
own.
about them again. I mean, they go to the
Yeah.
pediatrician, but then that's out of our hands.
I assume pediatrician is less education based and more just checking
Checking
things.
boxes. They have to be because they get 15 minutes per patient. They don't get a lot of time
Yeah.
with their patients. That's all part of the insurance problem too, is just when do they get this education, right? That's why I am so passionate about doing the best that I can when I'm at my job, because this is where they're going to get a lot of the information that they're going to need for the first couple weeks.
Recently, you launched a line of products on Etsy, starting with a breastfeeding journal. When did you first get the idea parents need a tool like this?
Oh my gosh, years ago. I like writing things down and I like checking boxes. I think I just love that feeling of, yup, done. I think it really started with my NICU parents. When I would have parents that have NICU babies, it's really hard to pump for a baby that's not near you. It's hard to wake up every 3 hours and put a pump on when you don't have a baby that's in the room with you, because it just feels the pump isn't doing much those first couple days. So parents don't do it. The problem is that if they're not waking to pump, if they're not really stimulating their breasts in those early days, those first 2 days, they're not going to get a full supply of milk. That's just the hormones. That's just the biology of it. Like, that's when they're recovering from the delivery. They're emotional because the baby went to the NICU. It started with me feeling like we didn't have enough tools in the hospital to help the NICU moms understand the importance of pumping, to be able to start the pumping early enough so the nursing staff understood why it's so important to get the moms pumping. It started as I developed a tool, just the first 5 days maybe, of pumping a log so that they could look at it, know what the expectation was, be able to check a box when they've accomplished that task. Then with just little information in small amounts, digestible amounts, so that they understand what they're doing. Also a little bit of encouragement to be, this is an amazing thing that you're providing for your NICU baby. I was 5 days, that's great. What about 6 weeks? Then I just made it a little bit more extensive and was, okay, what about it for these parents that have babies in the NICU for 6 weeks? Be helpful to have a journal that they can go through. They can bring to the bedside. The nurses can look at it. If they have issues, hey, my supply is dropping off, and the nurse can open it and be, well, I see you stop pumping overnight. That could be why you're seeing a dip in your supply. It provides a tool for the nurses and the medical staff and the parents to all be on the same page. And then a lot of people are very type A personality. Maybe they want to do this if they're breastfeeding. I make one for breastfeeding mom that they can still check off a box. Yep. Baby fed 8 to 12 times in the 24-hour period. So then it became a NICU tool, a breastfeeding mom tool.
What was the creative process? Were you being with patients and noticing things that you could write down, or how much of it came from on the job stuff versus your own life versus your education?
I would say a lot of it comes from my job. Sometimes feels like acting, feels like an actor in a part, right? Where you have sort of a script that you say when you because you get the same questions, the same 20 questions come up every single day. I try to make it sound very natural. It's not a canned response, but it's going to be a very similar script every single question that I get.
Yeah.
So I started by writing those scripts down in my own little language, trying to make it just fun and animated, and then just polished it a little bit so that those little blurbs became a little more polished and, expanded on things in digestible ways, like little paragraphs. A lot from bedside care, for sure.
Are you mostly trying to advertise it to parents, or are you trying to do anything like liaise with hospitals to get this in the gift shop or as part of a program?
I haven't done anything like that. This goes back to my feelings that this information should be accessible to everyone. So I have a hard time advertising it or expecting people to pay for information that I feel like they should have access to. And they do, right? You can find this information anywhere.
Right.
I just kind of packaged it in a way that makes it a little bit creative and easier to understand and see. I haven't really advertised too much. I would think that it'd be more for expectant parents, although it would be a helpful tool for hospitals to give out to their NICU moms when their parents have NICU babies, like as a tool for their NICU parents. And I actually do think CHOP has something similar, a little less creative, but something similar that they provide for their NICU parents.
I understand understand your hesitation, but I'll tell you, you're silly. You are absolutely doing a service by taking your years and years of education experience and compiling it in a way where it's easy to understand, it's digestible, it's creative, it's not feeling fully medical because you've added this personal touch to it that feels more just like a personal journey that they're going on.
Yeah.
And it's very reasonable that costs money, and so many people would want that, and I think so many people would want to gift that as well.
Yeah, I do think it's a good gift for a prospective mom, especially if you have a parent in your life or somebody who's pregnant in your life who's a very type A personality, which I think there are a lot of people out there like that, just really like things to have check boxes, to have rules, because there's really no rules to breastfeeding, but this kind of helps give breastfeeding a structure that you can follow.
Yeah. Well, you keep talking about checking things off, and you told me that you carry a running personal to-do list with you everywhere, page after page.
Yes.
And I want to know, why does paper work best for you? What kind of things usually end up on it?
I do have one on my phone too, but I find that I forget to look at it. I think having a notebook that I carry with me, just the sight of the notebook, oh yeah, let me check to see what I've got going on. Then it's also nice to look back, see if I've missed any tasks on days previous. I often do, because it's just this running, never-ending to-do list. I just really do think that there's something cathartic about checking something off with a pen and paper. I'm a task-oriented person in some ways, just like at work where I like to just check the box and then I cross out the whole box when I'm done with that. I like to do that in my life too. It just never seems to end.
Let's get into your personal to-do list. Well, I like that you use military time as well. But,
I tend to do that in my regular life too, because it just becomes kind of habit.
Having lived internationally for a decade, I often do it too, because it's the standard in enough countries, and usually the countries that don't use it at least know what you're talking about. So I'm definitely in that habit as well.
My personal to-do list, I flipped over.
I love the dinner's on top.
Well, yeah.
Enchiladas, that sounds great.
I made enchiladas on what day is this? The 15th, whatever that was.
Is that so? Does dinner go first because then you can all day be like, ooh, I've decided I could have enchiladas. Or just it.
I don't think it always goes first. I'm not always home for dinner, so I was like, oh, we're making dinner. I'm gonna make dinner on the 15th. I popped that at the top, and then I made them because it's easier to make them through the day. Pop them in the fridge. I bake them in the evening, so that's probably why I did that. And then I scheduled the haircuts, right? So that's good. I scheduled them. They had them this morning.
Is the whole family get haircuts at once?
The boys do. Both boys and my husband, they all get haircuts together. And the dentist, that one's been on my to-do list for quite a number of weeks. I need to get to the dentist myself. The boys, they're signed up. You always neglect yourself.
Since you have it on paper, does that mean that like the day after this, you wrote down dentist again?
Correct,
because
it just keeps moving to the next day.
All right, what is will sign?
We got our wills done finally, which was really exciting because that was on the list for a while, but we actually have to go to the office to sign the original copies.
Of all the things in your life, is that one of the things that made you be most like, I'm a grown-up?
Oh my God, yeah. Wow, I've got a will. Which like was not important, and I'm sure it's always important, but it didn't feel important until we had the kids, and then we were all right, we kind of need a plan for them just in case we both die at the same time. That's when we were all right, we really need to get this done.
Then you have van oil change. Speaks for itself.
Yep, that's due in September, so I gotta call and schedule an appointment. I gotta call the cleaners. My dad gifted me 6 cleaners as my gift with my last baby. She's 8 months old. I haven't called the cleaners to capitalize on that gift because I need to get my
It's a great new mom gift.
It is, but I need to get my house clean for the clean.
Yeah.
I haven't capitalized on that quite yet. They did come over once about 3 months after Rory was born, which was great. So that's been on the list for a while. Sleep study. Oh God, this has been on the list for 5 years. I really need to do a sleep study, but I've been.
Wait, what's good? Something's.
I snore, and I've snored my whole life. I feel it's gotten worse, and oh gosh, I'm not breathing at night properly. This is such a healthcare thing. We never take care of ourselves. We're always worried about our family, worried about our patients, and then we just neglect our own physical health. A sleep study feels a very challenging thing to do when you have 3 kids. How am I supposed to go do a sleep study?
Absolutely.
I've either been pregnant or breastfeeding through the night or just busy for the last 5 years, but I really need to do it. So it's on the list. I need to put
And
it
it
in
is there, and
bold
you rewrite
print.
it. You
I
rewrite it
just
every
reread.
day.
I just saw this. People are getting together and they're having parties to force each other to do things on their to-do list. Have you seen this?
Accountability
Yes,
parties. Yeah, this is
accountability
a huge thing in
parties.
the nomad scene. Yeah, I've been to
Yes.
a lot of
I
them.
told one of my coworkers, we need to have this because I need to call the cleaner, but call for a sleep study because that's a big one that I need to do. And I'd love to check it off, so I should do it. I'm going to do it after we're done.
Woo! That's exciting. We'll have to do a follow-up. You send me a picture of it
Yes.
checked off. You have email Melanie re FM.
Last week I had an interview with another side gig. The clinical CCO, she's the chief clinical officer. She offered me the job during the interview, and it's a lactation
Congrats.
job thing. I put on there, I got to follow up with her just to see what the onboarding process is for all of that.
I'm curious, on your personal to-do list, do these categories change? You have boot camp, you have other, you have groceries, and then you have some cute little notes in the margin.
I would say usually to do has to do with things that I have to call or schedule. Groceries is usually on the other side so that I don't lose it. Then I'll have specific things that I have to do. Boot camp, which was this weekend, there were a couple things I had to make sure I had for that. I play a game with the couples where I make them hold ice in their hands to learn what kinds of coping skills they use and utilize during labor. I have them hold ice for 90 seconds because it hurts, and whatever technique that they're using to try and deal with that pain is usually a good technique for them during contractions.
It's a very interesting tip.
Yeah, so I bring ice with me and then I bring them snacks because it's a long class, and then a lunch for myself. Then skills day, I teach nurses at the hospital. So once a year we do a skills building day for the nurses. So I work with my manager to do that. She's a nursing educator, and we're developing an escape room. Last year we did an escape room for sepsis. You had to escape, your patient had sepsis, but this time it's an escape room for neonatal resuscitation. So we're working together on that.
Oh, wow.
But I got to get it done.
These are like way scarier escape rooms than regular escape rooms.
They are. It's just really about critical thinking, being able to think through things in a different way so that when you're in an emergency, they're not timed, but then if they were in an actual emergency, they'd be able to think things through sort of the same way that they do when they're in the escape room. And there's like little keys and stuff that I lock things up, so it's kind of fun.
Oh, that does sound like a good way to gamify it. Is that kind of more like slightly further out in the future stuff?
It's a lot. I would feel a lot of times it's kids, maybe stuff that's in the future that I'm not as worried about immediate, like the kids stuff. I'm trying to look at it right now. Yeah.
As a mom of 3, how has your personal to-do list changed compared to before you had kids? I'm sure it's in like every way, but
yeah, there is a lot of things to remember. Each kid has their own specific needs, so there's a lot of things to remember. I would say I'm really lucky. My husband is really good at the day-to-day to-do list because with the kids, because I'm really not. I would forget to feed them. It'd be 8 p.m. and I'd be like, did we eat today? Because I'm just not that good at the day-to-day stuff. We need to do dinner on this night. I'm more of like a future planner. I know what we're doing for the next 5 years, but I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. His to-do list, and his is in his brain because that's how he thinks. I don't know. He never writes anything down. It's weird. He's got this sort of day-to-day to-do list running in his brain. So I'm lucky because we balance each other out.
That's
that
awesome.
Because otherwise there'd be like
sounds like
lunch,
good teamwork.
Snack. Otherwise I'd have to remind myself to feed my children. That sounds so bad.
I think that sounds relatable. So you've kept page after page of these lists. Do you ever look back through old ones, like not just being like, oh, what do I need to carry over, but you look back from a year ago to be like, what was I up to?
Yes.
Or how have I progressed? What did I think at the time that's so different?
Yes, all the time. I was a really big journaler. I loved to journal. I would still like to journal, but I just don't have the time to keep a journal or the mental stamina to keep a journal. I've got like a couple different sort of journals. I also keep up a calendar with my time blocked out for each hour. I have since 2018. I can always
a paper calendar?
No, that's online actually.
Okay.
So I have a sheet that goes back from 2018 where I block out every hour what I'm doing each hour. I'm a very visual person. It's not really a to-do list. It's really just like a calendar. I have that from 2018. So I'll look back sometimes and be like, oh my God, yeah, that's when we did that vacation, or that's when I was on maternity leave, which is kind of fun. And that's also probably why I keep up on social media a lot too, because I like to look back at our old posts to be like, oh my God, look what we were doing a year ago. It's all self-serving. I like the journal aspect of it, what we were doing.
As I said to you when I reached out, you make me believe in the generosity of social media, of kind of anytime I see you and your family, it makes me so happy, like I haven't seen you in years, but just seeing sweet, super cute family and what you guys are up to fills my heart with joy and makes my day better. That is the beauty of social media. If that's happening to me, I know it's happening to lots of people who are seniors. So you make other people's days better by sharing these snippets of your family with the world.
Yeah.
It's a generous
that's
act.
so sweet. My dad makes fun of me because he's not on social media, but he has friends at church or who will say, I saw Jack got new shoes for school. And my dad will be like, oh. Sometimes
That's
his
funny.
friends are more informed about my life than he is. Yes, I talk to him a lot. Sometimes he just makes fun of me for posting everything.
Are there any routines or rituals that you have that you do every day or most days that don't make it to the list? I'm specifically interested in stuff that's more for you and balance and sanity.
I'm not a very ritualistic person. That is kind of why I'm not good at the day-to-day stuff the way my husband is. He takes his vitamins every day. I never remember to do that. I don't have a good ritualistic sort of memory that way.
You need to tell him to treat you like one of the kids.
Yeah,
Just be like,
he does.
feed me at this time.
Will.
Okay, great.
He'll give me when I'm pregnant, he gives me my prenatal vitamin every day. I wouldn't say I have a lot of rituals or things that I do every day. My schedule is so varied. Some days I'm up at 5 a.m., some days I'm up at 7 a.m. It's just so varied and I think that is one of the reasons why I don't necessarily develop a lot of rituals. It's funny that you say that because at boot camp I do a meditation with the families because this is a tool that could help get you through contractions, and every time I do the meditation I do it with them and this is so nice. I love this. I feel like I should put meditation on my daily to-do list so I remember to do. I need to set an alarm, a daily alarm, to remember to meditate. I don't think
that's a great
how
idea.
I'm supposed to do it, but
there is no way that you're supposed to do it. I think that's brilliant, and I think a lot of people do it like that. Final question: if you could see anyone's to-do list, who would it be? It can be a real person with a name or a job title or whatever.
What a good question. Now, see, this one you should have given me before. I really need to think about it.
You can take your time. I'll drink some water.
When you first said it, I immediately thought Barack Obama, but I don't know why. That was my first gut instinct. I'd be interested to see what his mind looks like because he is so smart.
I think about it all the time when I don't feel like exercising. I'm like, Barack Obama exercised every day. Nobody could do that for him. He was doing that
you're
every
right.
day. It blows my mind.
You're right.
That he made time to exercise.
Maybe he was manufacturing time. Maybe he just had a way to manufacture time itself.
He had one of those Hermione Granger.
He might have. A time
necklaces.
turner, yeah. Well, I think he's also one of those people that only needs 4 hours of sleep and they're fine. They say women need more sleep than men.
I think I'm averaging rubbing it in your face with 3 young kids, but I'm usually 8 hours, 20 minutes. That's my general.
I love that it's an average, 8 hours and 20 minutes. Do you wear a watch to tell you how long you're sleeping? You wear one of those watches?
Yeah, I have a whoop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you're a wonderful host.
Thank you. You're a wonderful guest.
Aww.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Of
It was
course.
I've wondered about your job for so long. The last time we saw each other was when you were in the lactation consulting program.
You should see my lists from when I was in school, I've got all my assignments listed.
So they're crazy.
Yeah.
Your world is such a different world than my world.
Yeah.
Like nothing crossing over in the event.
That's definitely. And kind of the creative aspect, I think. And like I said, I do think of my job sometimes as a little bit of performance-based, especially the boot camp. I feel like I'm acting for 2 days.
I think that makes so much
stage.
sense. And I feel like that's how I feel like I'm good at public speaking. It's never like Jen public speaking.
Acting.
It is
performance.
jazz hands public speaking.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I can't wait to move to Philly and see your face in person.
I would love that.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, text me when you're in town.
Yeah, if you think of anybody who you think would be
I will
interesting or just somebody whose to-do list you'd like to see, let me know.
Yeah, I will. Awesome. Oh, good talking to you, Jen. Good to see you.
Great talking to you.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye. I'm Jen Tracy, and you've been watching The To-Do Show. If you're curious about how other people tackle their days, and honestly, who isn't, there's another conversation right here that'll probably surprise you. Go check it out. And here's something interesting. There's actually research showing that people fall into 8 distinct patterns when it comes to how they organize their lives. Productivity and psychology experts like Adam Grant and Gretchen Rubin have been studying this for years. We built a quiz based on that research, and people keep telling us it's weirdly accurate. It takes about 5 minutes and you'll understand why certain systems work for you and why others never stick. Head to thetodoshow.com or check the link in the description to take the quiz. And please, please, please hit subscribe and you can check that off your to-do list.